Do you feel awkward at social events? Do you feel like everyone's looking at you, judging you, and for some reason you just don't know what you should do with your hands? If you've said yes to any of that, then you've clicked on the right video, because today I want to share how I've gotten over my fear of social interactions and how you can too. First, let's talk about why you and I are afraid of social interactions in the first place. There are so many different factors here, but for me personally, it was a combination of a fear of judgment or rejection, overthinking social interactions, low self-esteem, and just a general lack of confidence in my social skills. Your basket of fears might be a bit different than mine, but they all come from a lack of confidence in those social settings. To increase our confidence, we need to build evidence that we are actually capable in those situations we fear. But how do we do that? I believe there's two main approaches to build this social confidence. You can either just throw yourself into the deep end and try and conquer your fear by exposure, or you can build from the ground up, which is a much more gentle approach and personally has worked for me. To work from the ground up, we need to find our confidence baseline. This is the point where we might still feel nervous, but we feel confident enough. So, for example, if you hate the idea of arriving to a social event or a party by yourself because of all the first interactions or all the looks that you're going to get, but you feel confident enough to arrive with friends or colleagues, then that's your confidence baseline. The more we work with that baseline, the more evidence we are going to be able to build that proves to us that we are actually capable in those social settings. Slowly and bit by bit, we are going to be able to raise our belief in ourselves, and our confidence baseline is going to rise with it. This gentler approach will make it much easier to conquer our fears and actually go to that social event or introduce yourself to someone new or speak in front of a group of people. But unfortunately, what comes after this is usually another problem that we face. The challenge I'm referring to is overthinking or overanalyzing. For me, this would always happen after social events or interactions. I would replay all of the embarrassing moments in my mind, the awkward silences, or any mistake that I made. And this would absolutely kill my confidence. All that negative self-talk would just lower my self-esteem even further. And sometimes I would leave an event feeling worse than I had before I went. Now, it goes without saying, but this type of mindset is obviously not going to help us build the confidence that we want. What we should be doing is focusing on the small wins rather than obsessing over any loss. A useful strategy to reduce this overthinking is to challenge that negative thought. So if you find yourself obsessing over something you've said or an embarrassing moment, pause and ask yourself, is this thought really true? If you practice this enough, you'll find that most of the time, things aren't nearly as bad as you thought. I still find myself from time to time dwelling on an awkward moment and thinking that I ruined a whole conversation, but now I'm able to pause and ask myself, did that awkward moment really ruin the whole conversation? It wouldn't make sense that it did, especially if the rest of the interaction was quite enjoyable. Challenging these negative thoughts also allows you to replace it with a much more forgiving one. Sometimes it's going to be true that you embarrassed yourself or you had an awkward moment, but instead of just harshly criticizing yourself, you can reassure yourself that everyone is capable of those mistakes. Even the most socially confident people we know have embarrassed themselves. And be realistic with yourself. If you're shy or you're socially awkward, you're not going to be able to change that overnight. It's not easy, but if you accept the fact that mistakes are going to happen along the way, the overthinking and overanalyzing is going to be far less painful. Another way to reduce this overthinking is to have less awkward or embarrassing moments to obsess about. Let's be honest. If you're shy or introverted, you're going to feel awkward from time to time. So let's talk about how to reduce that. For me, there were two main areas of social interactions that almost always made me feel awkward. And the first was small talk. I used to hate small talk. And if you're shy or introverted, you probably hate it too. But the good news for us is that small talk is actually pretty easy and it can be an enjoyable experience. I know that may sound a bit surprising to some of you, but it can. And in my experience, all it took was one simple mindset shift. If we adopt a curious mindset, we can shift our focus from ourselves and instead focus more on the person we are speaking to. Not only does this decrease our own anxiety because we're thinking about ourselves less, but it also means that we're more present and more focused on the conversation that we're having. And since we're more focused, this means there's going to be less of those awkward pauses, boring topics, or times when you need to ask someone to repeat themselves because you weren't really listening to what they were saying. So a simple trick that I use to become more curious when I'm speaking to someone is I just ask myself, what can I learn about this person? Or what can I learn from this person? And trust me, it makes small talk a lot easier. But if small talk is something that you really struggle with, then you might want to check out this video where we talk about how to get better at small talk by making it more fun. It should be here or here, I think. The second area I struggled with was first interactions. Oh, the pressure of meeting someone new and trying to make a good impression and not embarrass yourself was unbearable. After reading a few different books and articles based around social skills that kind of covered this topic, I learned that there's two important things you can do to leave better first impressions and make first interactions a lot more comfortable. The first is to use and remember people's names. This was something that I really struggled with because I always had this irrational fear that I was just going to get people's names wrong for some reason. Even if I knew their name 100%, I just assumed I was going to get it wrong when I said it out loud. But when I got over that and I started to finally try and use people's names, I could tell that people really appreciated it, especially if you're using it at work with new clients or people that you're seeing. It really does go a long way. And I believe this is because it makes the interaction a lot more personal and really shows to the other person that you respect them. You respect them enough to remember their name and make an effort. So number one is to use people's names. The second thing I think you should do in first interactions is to ask them questions. If you get asked a question, ask a follow-up one back. If someone asks you, how was your day? You don't want to just respond with, yeah, it was good. Give them something more. Ask them how their day was, what they've been up to, or what they have planned later. If you ask someone the right questions and you create that healthy back and flow that a conversation should have, it's going to make the other person feel way more respected and they're going to appreciate meeting you a lot more. I think this kind of goes hand in hand with the curious mindset because if you're genuinely interested to learn more about the other person, you're naturally just going to ask them more questions anyway. If you're curious to go a bit more in depth on either of those topics, you might want to check out this video where we talk about how to make better first impressions by becoming someone that everyone loves to meet. And if you want to learn how to ask better questions and be a bit more genuinely interested in people, then you might want to check out this video where you can learn how to ask questions that will make people love you. And last of all, remember that everything we've talked about takes time. If you are shy, you're introverted or socially awkward, it's going to take months or even years to really feel confident. But all of the social skills, the self-esteem, and the small wins that you acquire along the way will make it all feel worth it. Good luck, and thank you for watching.